My personal story is from 11 years ago when I was finishing up my bachelor's degree in biology at the State University of New York at Potsdam. And so to finish my degree, I either needed to go and obtain an internship or research a topic somewhere in the biological field. And if you're not familiar with where Potsdam is, it is actually up towards Canada, and it can get really cold up there during the winter. And there were some winters where it was 10 below zero, and there were some days where it was 5 above zero. So it was really cold, and you can imagine that I kind of started looking towards an internship where I could kind of get away from the coldness. And so I started researching and applying, and I sent my applications out all along the East Coast. And I chose the East Coast because that's where my parents and my brother live, and so I kind of wanted to stay closer to them. Then doing so, I really wasn't hearing anything back. And during this time, too, I ended up going to a Disney College program interest meeting. And if you're not familiar with the program, it is for college students to work and interact with the different park guests through custodial services. You can work in room service, you can work as a ride attendant. And so, this sounds really awesome, and I was really excited about it, but it did not fulfill my requirements to obtain my degree. And so, I told my mom all about the program and how cool it sounded and to be able to work for Disney. And so she encouraged me to continue looking into the program and seeing if there was something else that I could do. And so eventually I ended up stumbling across the Disney professional internships. And the professional internships are more of where you get to work behind the scenes, or if you are in front of with the park guests, you're working towards teaching people about different conservation or about the world and everything. So I started applying for those because I saw there was a conservation education program. And conservation education was really something that I was kind of leaning towards, and I really love, conservation and stuff. And so I applied, and a few weeks later, I received a phone call from HR asking to set up an interview, a phone interview. And so I was super excited. I totally said yes. And after I hung up, I immediately called my mom and was like, "Oh my gosh, look, guess what? I get to go and interview with these people." And so a few days later, I talked to the conservation team, and, I was able to answer all the questions with ease and was really getting excited, but also trying to, keep it down because I was really hoping that I was going to get into this program, but also didn't want to really get disappointed either. So, but I got in. And so I remember going and, telling anybody and everybody that would listen that I was going to Florida and that I was going to work in Animal Kingdom as a conservation education presenter. And so what we got to do was we got to teach kids about animals and conservation, and we got to play games with them and tell them about the different animals that were found around the world and even found mostly in the park. So I remember a few times where people would get super excited over seeing the different animals, but also freaked out because we had bugs in a box, and we got to, talk to them about what these animals did to help us. And it ended up being the best time of my life because I started out being really shy and not really able to, talk to people just one-on-one. And by the end of it, it was awesome, and it totally changed my life. And so I was really excited, and this is the best time that I've ever had.